welcome to the start of a new vlog. If you don't know what I'm doing this month, I am letting the wheel of my owned TBR pick my reads. So, it's Monday, November the 7th, and let's find out what I will be reading next. So I have shuffled my slices, my wheel, and let's get to it. I'm really nervous because I feel like I've landed on some pretty chunky fantasies, and I feel like a lot of my TBR is really chunky fantasies, so I'm nervous again. And let's go ahead and let's do this. So I got Paper Princess, and I think this is, I don't even know what this is. I think I own this one on Kindle, and I've owned it on Kindle for quite a long time. I want to say it's by Aaron Watt. Yes. And I have no idea what this is about, but we're going to figure it out. And hopefully, maybe I can find the audio, please. If it has on audio, I would love it. So, we're going to get started. This is what I'm reading this month. My momentum is kind of slowing because I'm getting books that I don't really care to read. But, it's okay, because we're going to keep going. We're going to keep going with this. And I am, like I said, I'm going to go until I get to a reading slump. So, let's hit it. Okay, it's Tuesday. And I finished Paper Princess by Paper Princess by Aaron Watt. Now, let me tell you this backstory on this. I brought this book because, number one, I think it was on a Kindle sale. Number two, this Aaron Watt is the pseudonym for two writers, Elle Kennedy and Jen Fredericks, I believe. I've read one Jen Fredericks book. I gave it 3 stars. I didn't find anything to write home about it. But I do like Elle Kennedy, so that's why this book was on my radar. Okay. So the premise of this book is basically this girl loses her mother, dies when she's 15, I think, and she goes off by herself because she doesn't want to be in the foster system, and she goes on the run. And she has this ID, and she fakes her mother's signature on all this stuff so she can live a regular life. And as soon as somebody kind of gets a sniff of suspicion that she may not have parental figure, she goes and runs off somewhere else until this man comes about and says that basically he knows who her long-lost father is, and her father has died, and he's going to take her over and take care of her, and he's super rich, and he whisks her away, and he's got these sons. I can't remember if there are 4 or 5 of them, but they're very not nice to her, and of course, they're going to fall in love, of course, because that's what's going to happen. 1 star. 1 star. Okay, number 1. This book sexualizes teenagers, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. 100% ridiculous. I just don't see there being a need to sexualize teenagers. Secondly, this is 100% like a soap opera. Nothing in this book can happen. I mean, it could happen, but a lot of the stuff is just preposterous. Number 1, there's a 15-year-old with a 34-year-old driver's license, and people just take that as fact. No. There's no 15-year-old that looks 34. I'm really sorry. I mean, I'd like to see it, but no. And just the stuff that, it's just ridiculous. This book right here, 100% perpetuates, like, romanticizes violence. And I know that some people like bully romances, whatever. It's not for me. And I don't ever want to read another one. However, I can understand the car crash of this, because this is like a soap opera. It is, there are ridiculous things occurring, and why do people watch soap operas when, you know, half the stuff in there cannot happen? People are coming back from the dead and all this stuff. Like, it's that ridiculous. And so I can understand why people move on to the next book, because they want to know, because it's like a car crash. You just want to watch. But it won't be Shay. I won't be doing that. So 1 star. 1 star. And I'm happy to have it off my shelf, though. It's one less, you know, one book I own that I don't need. So I'm going to spin again. Let me get my spinner wheel up. I've already shuffled, I think. Let's go. We can shuffle. Shuffle text only. Okay. So we are going to spin for spin. I can't remember. This is spin number 5, I think. Okay. So, I got The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. I've been looking for an excuse to kind of get into this book, and I'm happy to have it. I'm happy to dive back into Kristen Hanna, and like, I swear I have psychic abilities, because I thought like a couple of days ago I'm gonna get great alone during this spinning things. So I did get it, and I'm really excited to finally dive into another Kristen Hanna. If you don't know my experience with Kristen Hanna, I didn't get hyped for The Nightingale. It was fine. I loved Firefly Lane. And now this is kind of going to be a tiebreaker. Like, am I going to like it? Am I not? So, happy to have this. Happy to read this. And I hope you guys exercised your right to vote today, because it's Tuesday. It's election day. And I hope you guys are having a great reading month. Continue to. And I'll update again shortly. I should have checked in before now, but I didn't. But I am like 65-ish%, like this. I don't know if you can see it. Into like right along. So my thoughts about this book are very, very similar to the thoughts I had about The Nightingale. I really love Kristen Hanna's character work. I think she can write characters very well, but my thoughts are this book does not need to be this long. It's very repetitive. The same things are happening over and over and over and over, and I think you can pretty much set the scene and the tone of the story without having it be so lengthy. If you don't know, this book is about a girl named Lenny. The book is from her perspective, and she grows up with this very abusive dad who has been in Vietnam War, I believe, and has some PTSD issues, obviously, and he's very controlling, and he upends their life and moves them to Alaska, and there is definitely some mental issues you can see in the book with him and the things that are going on. He's very obsessed with something's going to happen, and we have to make sure that we are very prepared, kind of like obsessively. And so some things happen, and it's just her growing up in this kind of environment and how it affects her, how it affects her mother, and all of that. So I'm enjoying it. I'm not saying that I'm not enjoying it, but again, I just feel like this did not need to be this long. At all. So I'm going to keep reading, and I will pop back in with my thoughts once I am done. Okay, so I did finish The Great Alone. First of all, I love this cover. I love the peachy orange and pinks, and it's much of what I thought it would be. I teared up a few times. Again, my thoughts still remain that it was long-winded, and the medical provider in me didn't really jive with those parts of the book. I know that we are in the past, but still, I did not jive with those parts of the book. So, but overall, I'm going to give it 4 stars because it did make me feel something. I thought the characters were very well written, and I would completely read more of Kristen Hanna. So this is the 3rd book I've read from Kristen Hanna. The Nightingale, I don't remember, I gave 3 stars. Firefly Lane I gave 5, and then this one I'm going to go ahead and give 4 stars to. Okay, so I'm back to spin again, and we're going to see what I'm going to read next. Let's go. So I got The Governess Game, which is a book that I own physically. I think I still own it physically. I don't think I got rid of it. And I am looking forward to reading it. Okay, so it's Saturday. I have my dogs here. They are going to be taking part in the video. I actually finished The Governess Game by Tessa Dare. I got this lovely mass market paperback from my local used bookstore when Tessa Dare was... this series got very popular. I think the first one is The Duchess Deal, which I haven't read, so this is my first one, and this is my first historical romance. So this follows our main character, Alexandra, and she, of course, is down on her luck. Something has happened to her career-wise, and she basically gets drifted away to do this new career as being the governess to this duke. He has some wards that he has taken on, and nobody has really stuck at the job because the 2 girls that he is taking care of have just run everybody off, and so it's up to our character to kind of get them in line, and of course she's gonna fall in love with the duke. And my issue with this is a couple of things. I almost DNF'd this book because at the 20% mark, I was like, I'm done. I'm done. Because generally with my romances, I like them to be very angsty, very let's wait, let's build it up, let's build up the tension. And this was like they both liked each other from the beginning. There was really no tension building. So that's really wasn't my favorite, but overall it was really cute. The humor was, for me, I liked it. And I don't know that I'll ever continue on with this series, but I thought it was delightful. I thought it was funny. I thought it was fine. I gave it 3 stars and I'm ready to spin it. Which is going to be, let me pull up my spinner wheel. Okay, and we're gonna hit it. I've been wanting to read this book for a very, very long time. This is one of the finalists in SPFBO. I'm super excited. Let's go. I'm ready to dive back into some fantasy. Finally, a book that I really want to read. Hello, everyone. So I almost didn't update while I was reading this book because I've been listening to the audiobook all day long. While I was cleaning, I've been cleaning all day. I sure like a hot mess. You know, like 75% into A Touch of Light by Thiago Abdallah. And I have thoughts on this book. And this book is really deeply rooted in religion. You basically have these people that their rulers have eternal life. And they think that the other people of the community don't, and they think when you should mourn the dead. It's very shameful to the gods. And then you have, of course, you have this other view where you should mourn the dead, you should all of that, death is important. So you have kind of these two opposing views. We're following 3 points of views, and just to make it really simple, I'll kind of read the tagline of these 3 points of views. So we are following Adrian. He's a prince of one of the domain nations, the ones that believe death is, you should not mourn death. Church teachings say his grief is forbidden. One of his loves of his life has died, and of course he's going to mourn her, and that's going to cause some issues. And then we're following Lynn, who is a rogue elite warrior hiding from her past, but now an old enemy is rising and running is no longer an option. And then we're following Nasha, is a gifted hunter hiding in a terrible secret, a lifelong outcast. She desperately fights for belonging in the Rodnar, a proud southern clan. So we have these monsters, you can say it's like a plague, a madness that infects these people. And deeply, deeply, heavily focused on religion in this book. The one thing I think that drug me out of the story is because Thiago does not, he throws you right in there. There's no hand holding, there's no spoon feeding, here's how the world works, da 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 da. No, he's going to put you right in there, and then he's going to make you kind of work for it. You have to read a little bit to kind of understand. And so I was confused a lot of the book because I didn't understand what had happened. Because number one, there's a prologue, and then you move into chapter 1. And obviously some things have transpired from the prologue and when we start the book. And so it was very confusing to me. I'm like, well, what happened? Because it just kind of was, and the world is confusing, and I don't know. Right now, I like it. I like all of the character points of view, which is fantastic in a book with multiple POVs, but I'm not quite sure how I feel about the way that things are going. I'm still a little bit confused, but I'm 75% in and hope to finish this book tonight. I'll check back in with you guys later. So my final thoughts on Thiago Abdallah's A Touch of Light. I'm gonna give it 3 stars. This is a debut novel, which bravo to him, and it's self-published. Bravo to him for writing such a great debut novel. 100% for a debut, it's fantastic. However, I think, again, as I said earlier, the confusion part is what knocks it down a few pegs for me, because I was confused for majority of the book. I wish we would have gotten more backstory into what things were happening, such as, just for example, they talk about these gods called the Seraphs. We don't get a background on that. There is one of the characters has a curse, and there's no background on the curse, and I just feel like a lot of it was confusing, and I think that maybe he will expand on that in later books, possibly, hopefully. But I think a lot of debut fantasy authors kind of grow up in the mindset of, in the fantasy worlds, that info dumping is bad. And it takes a very seasoned writer, I think, to do it well, where you're not info dumping, but you're also not leaving out information. And I think that there's definitely no info dumping. in this book, which is great, but it's leaving out a lot of parts of the story that would have made me connect to the characters more. And so I'm hoping, I am probably going to continue on, and I hope Tiago all the best in the FBO competition. I do plan on reading the rest of the nominees for that in the near future. But that's what I've read. And now we've come to the end of this vlog. And of course, now that we've come to the end of this vlog, the AC is going to come on. Fine. So that's the end of the vlog. I hope you guys liked it. I think I had a pretty successful week of reading, and I will catch you in next week's vlog with my next spin. Hope y'all's reading is going all kinds of well.